Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of Chalo Numbers Samjhe. Real log, real money, real decisions. क्यों? क्योंकि numbers कभी झूठ नहीं बोलते. इस एपिसोड में हमारे साथ है सौम्या, who has recently graduated and become a CA. I think graduated बोल सकते हैं, right, Soumya?
Yes.
But yes, the point being that she is now CA, Soumya. And साथ ही साथ हमारे साथ है ऋषभ, who needs no introduction now. You've seen him around. He is a credit card expert and a financial planner. And in this episode, हमने सोचा Soumya, since she is just about to step into the corporate world, she had a lot of questions around credit cards. हमें credit cards use करने भी चाहिए कि नहीं? हमें हमेशा से ये बोला गया है कि credit card use करना एक गलत चीज है. That's not a good, and we tend to overspend, which is true. But all such questions is what we will try and decode in the episode today. So welcome Soumya, welcome Rishabh. Super glad to have you guys here.
Thank you so
Akshay.
much.
Welcome, Saumya, to the podcast, and congratulations for graduating your CA.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. तो सौम्या हम तुम्हारे we will try कि
हाँ.
आपके जितने भी आज credit card related and financial planning related generally जो भी questions है, we'll try and cover all of those in this episode, right?
Right.
But to get started with, I think Rishabh, Saumya had submitted 4 questions prior to our discussion, which was, is having a credit card a good or a bad thing? And she is obviously, traditionally, just like I'm sure all of our parents have not been very credit card friendly.
Definitely.
That's what she also learned from her family, not to go down that path. How does credit card help in credit rating? What is the point systems of credit cards? And if we are able to convince her of all the first 3 questions, then which is the best credit card that she should go for the first time ever?
Right.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I think these are the basic questions everyone should start with also, Saumya. Is credit card good or bad? It depends on your personality, honestly. Whatever sessions we take, मैं सबको यही बोलता हूँ. If you think you are financially independent, like financially disciplined, I would rather say, कि भाई, you have your emergency funds in place. You tend not to overspend. You have your SIPs going on. You have your insurance and everything. So basically, your basic framework is already done. But you come into the credit card world. Because बहुत बार क्या होता है, credit card debt is the worst kind of debt. Consider, for an example, you get car loans at 8%, home loans at around 8%, or personal loans at 12%, credit card loans at 36% per annum. You being a CA, you know how bad that kind of a rate is.
Right.
36% per annum goes up to 42% as well, and multiple late fees and everything. Credit card तब लो जब आपके पास already बैंक में पैसे हैं. So for example, you have a spend to make of 50,000. You already have that 50,000 to spend through a debit card, but you use a credit card just to get points or some kind of cashback. That is my main thing. Use your credit card like a debit card and you'll be fine.
Right.
But if you think it's free money, so I have a lot of friends who use this judiciously, but I have a few friends जिनको I never recommend the card because I don't want them to go into a debt trap.
Right.
Overspending super easy.
किसी का हो गया 1 लाख का credit card का bill, they never pay. 2 साल बाद 2 लाख का हो गया वो. They had to take another personal loan to pay off that. So if you are that kind of a persona who is not disciplined with the spending, please do not take a credit card. So yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah,
100% agree.
Yeah.
So we need to
100%.
be aware, how much money we have in our account. And it is better if we use credit card below that limit. Like suppose if we have 50,000, so max to max use it for maybe 40.
So again, वो spend पर depend करता है, ठीक है? तो आप obviously जितना बैंक में अकाउंट में है पैसा उतना ही यूज करोगे, उससे ज्यादा नहीं यूज करना. एंड आपकी लिमिट कितनी है? फॉर एग्जांपल यू हैव अ 1 लाख की लिमिट का क्रेडिट कार्ड, डोंट यूज मोर देन 30% बिकॉज वो भी सिबिल खराब करता है. सो सिबिल इज योर क्रेडिट स्कोर. So we'll come on to that, how you actually maintain your CIBIL and everything. But the general rule is if you have 1 lakh ki limit, you don't use more than 30%.
More than right.
And just to add to that, right, Soumya, so think of it this way. आज हम जो भी खर्चा अभी कर रहे हैं, हम ऑन आवर व्हाटएवर सैलरी हम 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 जो भी खर्चा कर रहे हैं,
राइट
हम आज अगर हम वो अपने अकाउंट से कर रहे हैं तो ऑब्वियसली हमारे पास वो पैसा अकाउंट में है और तभी हम वो खर्चा कर पा रहे हैं।
राइट
हमें सिंपली बस ये करना है, जब हम क्रेडिट कार्ड ले रहे हैं तो हम ये वाला खर्चा जो आज हम अकाउंट से डायरेक्टली कर रहे हैं, हमें ये खर्चा क्रेडिट कार्ड के थ्रू करना है सो दैट हम उसके कुछ बेनिफिट्स पा पाएं। एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट? एवरी टाइम यू स्पेंड अ क्रेडिट कार्ड यू कैन सिंपली आस्क योरसेल्फ दिस क्वेश्चन कि आज अगर मेरे को आज के आज इस क्रेडिट कार्ड का बिल देना हो तो क्या मैं अपने अकाउंट से दे सकती हूँ?
ओके
If the answer is yes, you swipe. If the answer is no, you don't swipe.
Yeah. Like it's not like that we know we are spending money and someone else is going to pay that amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a very good point, right? हम ऐसे we get into that flow और हम सोचते हैं ऐसा चल यार अभी swipe कर देते हैं ना, देखी जाएगी, कहीं ना कहीं से कुछ ना कुछ जुगाड़ कर लेंगे.
Like it's
But
same like UPI. जैसे UPI में ऐसा नहीं है that you know that Google is paying, like GPay is paying. It's our money end of the day.
correct.
Yeah.
So the technical way of looking at it is when you swipe something on a credit card, it gives you a credit-free period or a free loan, if I may say so, for a period of 20 to 45 days. But and whatever kharcha you've done based on your billing cycle and all of those things detail mein, once you get a credit card, you will understand that. But after that 45 days, you have to pay. If you don't pay, then the 46th day onwards, right from the day you made that spend, उस दिन से आपका interest लगना शुरू हो जाएगा,
Okay.
right? So that's how the entire thing works.
मैं थोड़ा और simplify करता हूँ. For example, you do a spend on the 1st of November and your billing cycle is on 30th of November, right?
Okay.
आपने 10,000 rupees खर्चा करा, that is the only spend you did. So वो आपकी जो billing cycle है 30th November को, you will have your statement generation date and you'll have to make the payment by 15th of December only. So you get that 45 days का period और 15 to 20 December के बीच में different cards at different वो. तो उससे क्या होगा, like if you do not pay by 15th of December, the interest part or the late fees will not start from 30th of November. It will start from the 1st of November, the day you actually did the spend. So 45 days का लगेगा. ठीक है? I think that makes it simpler. What I personally do is, the day my statement is generated, so if my statement is generating on 30th November, I'll clear it by 30th November or 1st December.
Okay.
So that is, right, I don't have to wait until the end of the my date statement to date. I'll do it on the 1st or 2nd day. मुझे already 30 days का period मिल गया. मेरे पास तो बैंक में already पैसे हैं. I don't want to spend it at other places. So I'd rather just pay my bill and use the card again to get more points or cashback.
So
Correct.
like the same thing we can do with debit card as well. But people are leaning towards credit cards nowadays. That is like, what is the reason behind?
See, debit cards, as you understand, debit cards and UPI work with the same mechanism.
Okay.
जो आपके अकाउंट में पैसा है वहीं से वो कट होगा, right? For example, you have 1 lakh rupees, you want to do a 50,000 का spend, you do it through UPI, you do it through debit cards. Points मिलेंगे भी अगर debit card पे, will be very minimal, right? Maybe 0.5% or 1% at max. Credit cards पे, depending on the kind of spend you have, depending on the vendor you do, you can earn anywhere from 5% to 15% also. There are people doing 20% returns on credit card.
Okay.
So after the 50,000 का spend, then you can also save anywhere from 2,500 up to 5,000, 7,000. वो depend करता है how you optimize it.
It's like return on spends, Saumya. Just like return on investments हमें मिलता है, वैसे ही return on.
Okay.
But just to share a reason here, right? So, and again, Rishabh will cover this in detail, but the main reason of having a credit card is your credit score, your CIBIL score, right?
Okay.
So all of these return on spends, these additional cashbacks, these points, ये तो extra चीजें हैं, ये तो good to have things हैं. But what makes credit card a must have thing is, it is the easiest tool that helps you build a credit score for a long period of time.
Okay.
Right? Now, इसका मतलब क्या होता है? हम सबको लाइफ में कभी ना कभी हो सकता है एक बड़े लोन लेने की जरूरत हो, राइट? मे बी and it could be when you are trying to buy a house, when you are maybe buying a car, or anything which is a big purchase, and you might not have all the funds at that point of time, and you would want to take some part of it as loan,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
At that point of time, आपको जो लोन, तो आपको कभी भी जब लोन मिलता है वो आपके सिबिल स्कोर के हिसाब से मिलता है।
Okay.
आपका सिबिल स्कोर बहुत अच्छा है, 750 एंड अबव है, 700 अबव है, तो रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट कम मिलेगा एंड क्रेडिट लिमिट, आई मीन लोन बड़े अमाउंट का मिलेगा।
Hmm.
सिमिलरली अगर आपका क्रेडिट स्कोर कम है तो आपको लोन भी कम मिलेगा, और वो जितना लोन कम, उसका रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट भी कंपेरेटिवली ज्यादा होगा,
Okay.
right? How do we develop a cibil score? Because I think आज अगर before when you just getting started with your salary, job, earning money, तो I think credit score बिल्कुल जीरो होगा या nil होगा, मैं NA होगा, right? ऋषभ क्या बोलते हैं? हाँ, तो NA होगा। तो अब क्रेडिट स्कोर बिल्ड करने का सिर्फ एक ही तरीका है, लोन लेना। लोन लेकर लोन टाइमली रीपे करो तो आपका क्रेडिट स्कोर हाई होगा। इससे क्या होगा? इससे अथॉरिटीज एंड सिविल को पता चलेगा कि अच्छा ये पर्सन लोन लेता है एंड ये लोन टाइम पे रिटर्न कर।
Basically, your credit worthiness is also getting made. कि आप
Right.
पैसा लेके वापस कर भी देते हो या नहीं करते हो।
just think of it this way, right? ट्रेडिशनल टाइम में, पुराने जमाने में मनी लेंडर्स वो क्या करते थे, उनसे कोई नया बंदा लोन लेने आता था, अगल बगल वाले बारे यार ये बंदा ठीक है, ये इसको पैसे दे, अगर दे दूंगा तो वापस दे देगा, राइट? उससे वो क्या करते थे, उसकी क्रेडिट वर्दीनेस जानते थे, सिबिल इन दैट वे जानते।
Right.
तो पॉइंट बीइंग कि सिबिल स्कोर डेवलप करने का एक ही तरीका है, व्हिच इज बाय टेकिंग लोन। एंड नाउ इसका मतलब ये तो है नहीं कि अब आज सिबिल स्कोर बनाना है तो मैं जाके एजुकेशन ले लूं या होम लोन ले लूं या पर्सनल लोन जब ले लूं, नहीं, राइट? सो द इजीएस्ट वे ऑफ बिल्डिंग अ सिबिल स्कोर इज बाय यूजिंग अ क्रेडिट कार्ड, बिकॉज इसमें आपको बाय द नेचर ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट, बाय द नेचर ऑफ द इंस्ट्रूमेंट, यू आर टेकिंग अ लोन in a way every month while you are spending it, and then you are repaying that loan at the time of the payment date, right? वो जो हमने समझाया था आपको, right?
Okay.
So that's the main reason of getting a credit card, because that helps you build a credit score, a CIBIL score from a very young age.
Right.
Rishabh, if you want to add something on the
No, same. I mean, the CIBIL ka actually, if you've known, the highest is, it ranges from 0 to 900. Try to maintain a score above 760. 760 बोलते हैं, it's an excellent score. So 760 से जो भी है, you reach 800 also, that's a very good score. 900, there's only one person at it, right? So we don't have to reach that. I have about 790, which is decent. Anywhere close to 760, 770 or above 800, it's a very good score. How do you maintain a CIBIL score? Obviously, you take a card. And when you take a card, you don't apply for a new card for the next 3 months. So we don't have to show the authorities that we are desperate for loans. So if you apply 2-3 cards in a very short period of time, maybe like 15, 20 days, a month, so they will feel that you are short on money and they'll actually drop down your CIBIL score. Okay, so get a card, wait for 3 months to 6 months, get another card only then. Okay, so that is one way. The other
very,
way,
very, very strong analogy, right? So just to give that money lender वाला example to the Rishabh's thing जो अभी बोला, कि think of it this way, तुमने एक money lender से, तुम उसी समय जाके 2-3 और से ले, अब money lenders को तो जानते हैं, वो कहेंगे अरे यार इस बंदे ने मेरे से भी लोन लिया है, मेरे से भी लिया है, मेरे से भी लिया है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है।
और वो ये कि वापस देने की कैपेसिटी नहीं है, बस लोन लिए जा रहे हैं। Yeah.
Correct.
the other thing would be, so there's something called as total utilization ratio. For example, you have 2 credit cards. As I was mentioning, don't use more than 30%. So 30% is your limit. For example, if you have 780 this a month, if you spend 35,000, it will go down 775, 776. So that way, अब उसको curb करने का क्या, या तो you curb your expenses. First thing, don't spend more than 30,000. The second way would be get a newer credit card. उसमें क्या होगा, your limit might go from 1 lakh to 1,50,000. The third one was कि 30th November billing date है, you spend लाख का आपका कार्ड है, you spend 50,000 also. आपको पता है you'll always exceed that. You don't wait until the statement generation date and you pay before that. 30 बैंक में पैसा तो पड़े, वो तो हमारा मेन रूल है, बैंक में पैसा भी आपको खर्चा कर। सो 30th नवंबर को बिलिंग डेट है, 25th नवंबर को यू पे 25-30,000, एंड में रेशियो कम्स डाउन टू 20%, यू आर सॉर्टेड इवन देन। आई डिड इट विद a few of my credit cards. I had a big spend. I spent all of it on my credit card. पूरी लिमिट यूट, but before the statement generation date, I paid 90% of it. तो वो कभी सिबिल में
Yeah. And again, Soumya, maybe ये सब थोड़ा overwhelming sound हो रहा होगा अभी to begin with, but when you get your first credit card and when you make your first swipe, right, when you make your first spend, ये धीरे धीरे सारी चीजें आपको अपने आप समझ में आ जाएंगी जब आप ये चीजें देख, right? So don't worry about it. But ऋषभ, एक question मेरा था कि ये जो uh, अगर मैं हर महीने, अगर मान लो मैंने एक महीने 35% कर दिया, एक महीने 50% कर दिया, बट नेक्स्ट मंथ 5% करा, तो is it an average that goes to check my CIBIL या every month check होता
every
है?
month.
Okay.
And इसीलिए ना I also recommend people to get a CIBIL की membership for a year. Generally 1200 की आती है. Some days there are discounts, you get it for 600 also. तो दो तीन फायदे ये हैं. See, all your all your fintechs company, Google Pay, Phone Pay give you credit score every month. तो वो मिल जाता है. Once a month you can get a free statement. But obviously it's a third party data leak. वैसे तो data leak हर जगह ही होता है. But then if you don't want a lot of phone calls from the banks and everything to come to you, it's better to get this membership. अब इसका दूसरा फायदा ये है, समटाइम्स यू डोंट नो कि किसी ने तुम्हारे नाम पर लोन ले लिया. वी बीइंग इन एन अर्बन स्टेट एंड एवरीथिंग, हमारे साथ मे बी ना हो, बट लॉट ऑफ स्मॉलर टाउन्स, योर पैन्स एंड आधार एंड एवरीथिंग, द डेटा इज सो वेल लीक्ड कि भाई वो हो जाता है लीक एंड तुम्हारे नाम पर लोन लिया जाता है. सिबिल तो तुम्हारा ही खराब हो रहा है ना. सम अनऑथराइज्ड एंट्री, कोई भी एंट्री होगी, यू विल ऑलवेज गेट एन ईमेल फ्रॉम द सिबिल कि भाई if your score has changed, you can go back to the website and check why your score has changed. Right? If there's a new inquiry, you will get an immediate email or the message from CIBIL कि ये हो रहा है. So I find it to be a very good tool. कि also from the perspective कि data won't be leaked. Also from the perspective कि you can refresh your score every 24 hours.
Understood.
Also, like you said that, to go for another credit card, but like initially when you are starting with this credit card journey, so to have a record of what we are spending and what is the limit, what would you suggest? Like having one credit card is more beneficial initially?
As I was mentioning, get your first credit card. How do you actually get your first credit card? We have a full slide on it, how you do it. So क्या होता है, अभी if you're not working, right, अभी नहीं मिलेगा. There are two ways to get it. कहीं बैंक अकाउंट होगा, any of these big banks, HDFC, SBI, कहीं पर भी. Every bank has a free credit card also. And हम recommend भी करते हैं पहला कार्ड जो भी लो वो फ्री लो. उसकी वजह ये है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल सौम्या, यू टेक अ क्रेडिट कार्ड आज 2025 में, you take a credit card, another credit card in 2027, and you take another third credit card in 2030. It's a very ऐसा एग्जाम्पल बता रहा हूँ, ठीक है. By 2030 you only have 3 credit cards. What happens is, अब आपको लग रहा है ये वाला जो फर्स्ट क्रेडिट कार्ड था इसकी फीस 1000 रुपीज है, ठीक है. अब आपको लग रहा है इसके तो मैं यूज नहीं कर रही, अच्छा इसके कोई इतने अच्छे रिवॉर्ड्स भी है, मैं इसको बंद कर देती. तो अभी क्या, आपकी क्रेडिट हिस्ट्री 5 इयर्स की हो चुकी है, फ्रॉम 2025 टू 2030. बट इफ यू क्लोज दिस 2025 वाला कार्ड, योर क्रेडिट एज ड्रॉप्स डाउन टू फ्रॉम द 2027. तो वो 2 साल का, तो अब आपकी क्रेडिट एज 3 इयर्स रह जाएगी. सो टू अवॉइड दैट कि कभी वो कार्ड बंद, यू टेक अ कार्ड विच इज लाइफ टाइम फ्री. कुछ कार्ड्स होते हैं विच आर ओनली फर्स्ट ईयर फ्री, यू टेक अ लाइफ टाइम फ्री कार्ड कि कभी वो टेंशन ही ना आए कि मुझे कार्ड बंद. ठीक है, आई विल गिव यू वेरी स्मॉल एग्जांपल. आई मेंशन्ड इन वन ऑफ माय अदर पॉडकास्ट, माय वाइफ हैज अ कार्ड फ्रॉम 2017 or 18, 17 actually. We pay 500 rupees for that, but we never use that card. The only other card we got for her was in 2022. But if I close that 2017 वाला कार्ड, एज 5 साल से कम हो जाती है, थोड़ी क्रेडिट वर्दीनेस कम हो जाती है. मे बी 10-15 साल बाद इसका फर्क ना पड़े, बट आज पड़ता है. तो उसके लिए यू टेक अ फ्री कार्ड. बैंक जाओ, बैंक से पूछो कोई क्रेडिट कार्ड फ्री में दे सकते हो. वो बोले नहीं दे सकते, देयर इज एन ऑप्शन टू गेट एन एफडी बेस्ड कार्ड. 50,000 की एफडी करवाओ, उसके बेसिस पे 30-40,000 की लिमिट वाला कार्ड मिल जाएगा. एक बार कार्ड मिल जाए, use it for 3 months, you'll be eligible for a lot more lifetime free cards. Second time भी lifetime free लो, उसमें FD की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. Once that is done, 6 months down the line, then you can start optimizing. कि to travel, तो मुझे travel के लिए points and miles चाहिए, or I want to have vouchers from Amazon, Myntra, anything, उसके लिए मुझे कार्ड चाहिए. So that is 6 month का plan.
Correct. So Soumya, the point being कि ये नहीं कि आज क्रेडिट कार्ड यूज करना शुरू किया और कल से कैशबैक पॉइंट्स, यू बिकम द क्वीन ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. ऐसे नहीं होगा, राइट? सो जस्ट लाइक हम इन्वेस्टमेंट जब करते हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं, इनिशियली हम रिटर्न्स आएंगे, राइट? कंपाउंडिंग टेक सम टाइम टू वर्क. Same way with credit card. तुम पहला credit card जब भी लो, take it to actually learn how to use a credit card, right? To learn and understand ये credit card का पूरा ecosystem चलता कैसे है. Once you've done that 3 months, 6 months, उसके बाद get your second card, उसके बाद then slowly and steadily when you have that, when you've now developed that habit कि अच्छा नहीं अब मैं overspend नहीं कर रही हूँ, मैं सब कुछ control में है, सब कुछ सही है, तब सोचो कि अच्छा now how can I optimize it further, how can I get better with it, so on and so forth. बट बिफोर दैट कीप इट वेरी वेरी सिंपल. जैसे ऋषभ ने बोला, अपने जितने भी जहां भी बैंक अकाउंट्स हैं वहां पे चेक कर लो. आई एम श्योर यू डिड योर आर्टिकलशिप एज वेल, राइट? तो उसमें सैलरी क्रेडिट होता था, ये होता था. यू कैन ऑलवेज चेक विद दैट बैंक. दे कैन एक्चुअली मे बी ऑफर यू अ फ्री क्रेडिट कार्ड.
Right. And suppose we are not using any credit card, like, we have, taken a credit card and we are not using it. So that affects the CIBIL score?
No.
Okay.
फीस पे करते रहो.
आपने लोन ही लिया तो ना ना बढ़ेगा ना कम होगा. इट इज एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट? आप मनी लेंडर के पास गए, आप सिर्फ हाथ मिला के आ गए.
अच्छा.
आपने उनसे ना लोन लिया और ना ही उनको वापस पैसे दिए. आपने बस उनको नमस्ते करके आ गए कि हाँ जी सर सब ठीक है, बढ़िया है. So
So
just
boy,
that way,
actually,
right?
my mother has a credit card, but we don't use it. We end up using UPI every time. So we are,
Yeah,
we don't even have that habit of using a credit card in our family.
किसी के फैमिली
So
में नहीं था सौम्या. I had to learn myself. And अब क्या है, first time you take it. So my family generally, we've obviously, like all other families, credit card ka loan, as I mentioned, the first statement is the worst kind of loan. So everyone knows that we've seen a lot of examples around us that people have gone into a credit card debt. So obviously we also try to avoid it. So it took me a long time to unlearn that and then learn that yes, if I am being financially disciplined, there are a lot more benefits that I can gain out of it than being always scared, right? So agar the main rule is if you are financially disciplined, only then get into this. Sabki families mostly यही होता है. They'll say credit cards are bad. They are bad for 90% of the population because they're not financially disciplined, right? So वो आप समझोगे. So again, क्रेडिट कार्ड जो आप कह रहे थे, यू फैमिली में होता है, यू नॉट यूजिंग, सबके पास होता है. सबको फोन आते रहते हैं, बैंक्स इशू कर देते हैं. बहुत बार क्या होता है कि 1 लाख की लिमिट वाला क्रेडिट कार्ड आया. हैपेंड विद मी. आई हैड अ क्रेडिट कार्ड फ्रॉम वन ऑफ द लीडिंग बैंक्स. मेरा फर्स्ट क्रेडिट कार्ड था. The limit was 2,20,000. But then I started getting other cards which gave much better rewards. So I stopped using that card. They dropped my limit to 10,000 rupees. ठीक है. So 2,20,000 से 10,000 आ. तो ये भी होता है कभी कभार. तो ऑब्वियसली सिबिल स्कोर एज सच नहीं खराब, बट अब मुझे अगर मेरे 10,000 की लिमिट हो गई एंड दैट इज माय ओनली कार्ड, अब मैं उस पर 5,000 खर्चा करता हूँ, मेरा क्रेडिट यूटिलाइजेशन रेशियो बढ़ गया, तो उस हिसाब से सिबिल खराब. तो क्रेडिट कार्ड पड़े
and
रहने
again
से.
simple. एंड अगेन सिंपल रखो. अगर मैम के पास, आंटी के पास क्रेडिट कार्ड है तो जस्ट थिंक ऑफ इट, कैन यू स्टार्ट स्पेंडिंग 2,000 रुपीज ऑन इट टू जस्ट गेट स्टार्टेड विद अंडरस्टैंडिंग इट, राइट? एक बार खाना खाने गए या कहीं गए तो इंस्टेड ऑफ डेबिट क्रेडिट कार्ड से पे किया, जस्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि अच्छा अब ये चलेगा कैसे, अब इसका कैसे स्टेटमेंट जनरेट हो, कब बिल आएगा, कब हम पे करेंगे. एक मेजर शिफ्ट कब, दैट इज इन जनरल आल्सो कॉल्ड इन ओवरऑल फाइनेंशियल हेल्थ, राइट? मेजर शिफ्ट कभी मत, बट स्लोली स्लोली अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोसेस. बिकॉज see, you are today when you learn something about credit cards, it's going to stay with you for the next 20-25 years of your active earning years, right? Aaj tum, for example, let's say me, I have been earning since 2014. 2014 is when I got my first job. But I always had a credit card, but for the longest time I didn't really know how to use the rewards. कई बार तो मेरे कितने सारे पॉइंट्स वेस्ट भी हो गए, एक्सपायर हो गए, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. But as soon as you get that first understanding कि अच्छा now I'm using it fine, and कभी कभार initially I remember ये फ्री मूवी वाले क्रेडिट कार्ड्स बहुत आते थे. तो जब मैं पहली बार एक फ्री मूवी देख के आया ना, तब मेरे को लगा यार ये तो बड़ी सही चीज है, राइट? आई शुड स्टार्ट यूजिंग इट इवन मोर. एंड देन ऑब्वियसली you start learning that process and optimize it, right? तो पहले सिर्फ हैबिट डेवलप करनी है एंड अंडरस्टैंड करना है सिस्टम को कि ये चलता कैसे.
And nowadays, like all the tickets that are released for concert, the only attraction for credit card is like, it opens for the credit card holders first. So
Yeah.
that is an
This team has been
attraction.
doing really well in that platform. Last year Diljit का concert, a lot of people took HDFC Pixel card, right? उसके बाद मैंने तो बंद कर दिया. I think अक्षत ने पता नहीं किया नहीं किया. I closed it.
मैंने भी कर दिया.
So that is the way to sell their credit cards. But again, there are a lot more benefits 6 months down the line. You have to understand. What I personally did for first 2-3 years, I took cashback cards. There are different kind of rewards, and depending on your personality, वो होता है. So how do you actually benefit क्या है, if you'll ask? सबसे पहले तो क्या होता है, there's something called as cashback. महीने में 10,000 खर्चा करा, 500 रुपए आपको कैशबैक मिले इन योर अकाउंट, या आपने नेक्स्ट मंथ अगर जब 10,000 खर्चा करा, आपको 9500 ही मिले, तो वो 500 रुपए आपको एज अ कैशबैक एंड स्टेटमेंट क्रेडिट में. सो दैट इज वन. द सेकंड पर्सोना इज कि भाई यू गॉट सम वाउचर्स फ्रॉम द कंपनी. सो आपने 10,000 खर्चा करा, आपको 500-700 रुपए का वाउचर मिल गया, एंड फॉर Amazon or something, Myntra, Nike or something. So that is the second kind of persona. Initial years में यही होता है, ठीक है? People are very attracted to this kind of value. The third persona is which I and Akshat now are very much into geeking into, is your travel points, miles, flights and everything. तो उसमें क्या होता है, आपने 10,000 खर्चा किया, you can get anywhere from 1,000 rupees to 1,500 rupees as well worth of travel credits or your hotel stays or something. The list is endless. Last 2 years, I think Akshat has also been into this. We've been geeking into getting air miles. We've been geeking into getting hotel loyalty points. So I'll give you a small example. Earlier this year, I did a trip with my wife to Georgia. We stayed 5 nights. Cost was about 15,000 per night. We paid, none of it was paid in cash. Everything was paid in credit card points. So you see, per 15,000 to 5, you do 75,000 ka you saved through credit card. Or aisa nahi, I was spending a lot. I think amongst our age, kharcha obviously once you get married and everything, wo kharcha zyada ho jata. But if I'm staying with my family, what I've started doing is, घर के सारे खर्चे भी I'm doing it on that credit card. So electricity
You're just
bill.
optimizing.
So optimizing all this spends. Electricity bill हो गया, कोई भी खर्चा हो रहा है, पानी का बिल हो गया, आप कुछ लेने जा रहे हैं, आप ग्रोसरी हो गया, डाइनिंग आउट हो गया, एवरीथिंग इज डन ऑन दोस क्रेडिट कार्ड्स, एंड एक कलेक्टिव पूल बन के इट बिकम्स अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ पॉइंट्स. सो दैट वाज माय फर्स्ट ट्रिप, लाइक जो पूरा पॉइंट्स पर था होटल. एंड
उसके बाद जापान भी घूम आया ऋषभ, almost 70-80% points.
So we stayed about 11 nights. 10 of them were through credit card points. In monetary value, it was about 2.5 lakh rupees we saved, because Japan mein hotels are super expensive. Think good comes below 15-20,000. So all of it was paid through credit card points. क्या था, because my wife has also started collecting points, so we had a huge amount of points to spend. Like ऐसे एक बंदे के through क्या होता था, she would never want to use a credit card की बात है, but once you start getting all these benefits and all, you know, once you do your first redemption, you're already thinking कि भाई मुझे next कैसे points इकट्ठा. So it's a long term process. Money shift change, वो time लगेगा
करके. And again इसीलिए इसमें एक और perspective जल्दी से सौम्या में share करता हूँ, which is, देखो एक एंड इसका आप पे क्वेश्चन भी था, राइट, हाउ डज दीज पॉइंट्स वर्क, एंड ये क्रेडिट कार्ड कंपनीज हमें इवेंचुअली पॉइंट्स दे क्यों नहीं है, इनमें इसका क्या फायदा है, इनका क्या फायदा है, टू हेल्प पीपल स्पेंड बेटर, स्पेंड मोर. व्हेन डू बैंक्स मेक मनी? दे विल मेक मनी ओनली व्हेन यू स्पेंड मोर, राइट, उनके पार्टनर्स पे, उनके मर्चेंट्स पे, वहां से उनको मर्चेंट फी मिलेगा, सो ऑन एंड सो फॉर दैट. सो दैट एंटायर इकोसिस्टम इज developed in such a way that you end up spending more. But यहीं पर हमें सोचना है कि how can we be clever with it, जहाँ पे हमें पॉइंट्स एंड माइल्स भी मिले और हमें हम ओवर स्पेंडिंग भी, हम सिर्फ ऑप्टिमाइज्ड स्पेंडिंग करें. कहने का मतलब ये, इसीलिए आपको पॉइंट्स मिलती, इसीलिए आपको ये चीजें मिलती हैं, बिकॉज क्रेडिट कार्ड कंपनीज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे दे वांट यू टू स्पेंड मोर. दे एंड यू नो दे विल ऑब्वियसली मेक मनी व्हेन, लेट्स से, इवन इफ 10% ऑफ द ओवरऑल क्रेडिट कार्ड होल्डर्स इन इंडिया डिफॉल्ट, राइट, तो वो 10% पे जो 36% उनको इंटरेस्ट मिलेगा, तो वो दैट विल कवर फॉर ऑल द अदर कॉस्ट दैट दे हैव डन विद द 100 other people, correct? So that's the point, right? These credit card instruments are made actually to kind of you know facilitate more and more spending. यहीं पे we have to be very careful. यहाँ पे हमें habit develop करनी है, जहाँ पे वो 30% वाली चीज ऋषभ ने बताई, and slowly and steadily हमें अपना credit score है, right? So आपके एज में your main focus should be building a credit score and building a habit to use credit cards. As simple as that.
And like I'm curious now, like what type of expenses give you the most points? Or is it collective, like over a period of time you start earning?
ये हम अभी नहीं बताएंगे, ये हम अभी नहीं बताएंगे. अब क्या हो रहा है, अब तुम्हारा दिमाग चल रहा है कि हम कि मैं कैसे कितनी पॉइंट्स लेके आऊँ, कैसे मैं मम्मी को फ्री में मूवी दिखाने लेके जाऊँ, बट नहीं, आई थिंक नो, आई थिंक द पॉइंट इज हियर, पहले पहला क्रेडिट कार्ड लो। अच्छा देखो, इट ऑल्सो डिपेंड्स ऑन द काइंड ऑफ क्रेडिट कार्ड यू गेट। So first of all, because you are right now in a very young age and you've just gotten started with your job etc. अभी तुम्हें जो क्रेडिट कार्ड्स मिलेंगे भी वो बहुत लिमिटेड होंगे। जैसे ऋषभ ने बताया कि इट विल ओनली बी एफडी बेस्ड या बैंक बेस्ड कार्ड्स। तो उनमें शायद बहुत ज्यादा पॉइंट्स नहीं मिलेंगे या बहुत ज्यादा ऐसे कैशबैक्स नहीं मिलेंगे। तो अभी के लिए फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ योर करंट सिचुएशन इन लाइफ, जस्ट गेट योर फर्स्ट क्रेडिट कार्ड, then see उस क्रेडिट कार्ड के क्या बेनिफिट्स हैं, accordingly optimize your spends, and then once you've learned this for the first 3 months 6 months, after that you figure out कि आपके spends कौन से सबसे ज्यादा हैं एंड उन स्पेंड्स के बेसिस पे आपका कौन सा क्रेडिट कार्ड ज्यादा है। अगर आप ऐसे सोचोगे ना कि कौन से स्पेंड्स में क्रेडिट कार्ड में सबसे ज्यादा पॉइंट्स मिलते हैं, तो यू विल एंड अप स्पेंडिंग मोर ऑन दैट कैटेगरी। जाके बोलोगे अरे यार रुको रुको, जोमेटो से मैं ऑर्डर कर रही हूँ, पेट्रोल पंप पे मैं पेट्रोल कर, तो यहाँ पे तुम्हारे खर्चे बढ़ जाएंगे।
That makes sense.
Actually, see, the main thing is there is no major benefit, like there's no better benefit than not actually spending money. ठीक है?
एग्जैक्टली।
So खर्चा
इन्वेस्ट
नहीं करोगे तो
नॉट
पैसे वैसे ही बच जाएगा, सबसे बड़ा रिवॉर्ड ही वही है।
Money saved is money earned.
एग्जैक्टली।
But the money spent, if you spend, judiciously, more smartly, it can give you experiences which you'll cherish for life. But yes, so abhi kya hoga, Soumya? You take your first credit card. 3 months or 6 months down the line, obviously, as Akshat mentioned, you'll get a fair idea कि मेरे spends कहाँ है. And then probably we can do another podcast to understand how you've done it,
Yeah.
क्या सीखा आपने. I hope you don't overspend, right? I hope you
Correct.
keep your total utilization ratio under 30%.
बिल्कुल। अभी सिर्फ और सिर्फ क्रेडिट कार्ड लेकर हैबिट डेवलप करनी है। इनफैक्ट सौम्य, अभी तुम्हारा दिमाग जाना चाहिए कि मैं फर्स्ट सैलरी से अपनी एसआईपी कहाँ शुरू करूं, विच इज द फर्स्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट आई शुड गेट स्टार्टेड विद, because honestly that will give you a much better return in the long term, right?
Yes.
And given the age that you are in, the compound you have really good time for for compounding to work for you, right? So अभी ज्यादा दिमाग इस पे लगाओ, एसआईपी कहाँ करनी है, कौन सा म्यूचुअल फंड सिलेक्ट करना है, कौन से मे बी स्टॉक सिलेक्ट करने हैं, एंड क्रेडिट कार्ड सिर्फ और सिर्फ एग्जिस्टिंग स्पेंड्स को बेटर करने के लिए, क्रेडिट स्कोर डेवलप करने।
Right. So anyways, I have a dream to buy a car 2-3 years down the line. So obviously, I will be taking a loan for that. So it is a good opportunity to create a credit score.
Exactly, right? So now there are two things you should do then. Since you have a goal of buying a car, इसे देख लो कि वो गाड़ी कितने की है और इन्फ्लेशन के हिसाब से वो 3 साल बाद, we in fact have a goal calculator. You can check it out on the other videos or I'm happy to share it with you. And let's say वो गाड़ी 15 लाख की है, right? I'm just making this up. Let's say 3 साल बाद वो कहते हैं 20 लाख की हो जाएगी। तो now your entire focus should be पहले 20 लाख के से 10 लाख या 8 लाख रुपए मैं इकट्ठे कैसे करूं, which I can pay as down payment, right? Because early on in the life 20 lakh रुपए का लोन भी लेना is not a very good thing, right? I mean, you should have limited loans low, it helps you with a lot of things, but you should have limited loans. पहले दिमाग लगाओ, पहले मैं 5 लाख 7 लाख 8 लाख जितना भी डाउन पेमेंट हो सके, and then on the other hand use credit cards to get that CIBIL score so that you can take a better loan, right? सो या मैं बार बार ये कह रहा हूँ कि दिमाग अभी आपका इस एज पे इन्वेस्टमेंट्स की तरफ ज्यादा जाना चाहिए, स्पेंड की तरफ जाना चाहिए, क्रेडिट कार्ड की तरफ जाना चाहिए, बट मोर फॉर क्रिएटिंग अ सिबिल स्कोर एंड मोर फॉर क्रिएटिंग अ हैबिट।
Right.
और जब 3 साल बाद आप गाड़ी ले रहे होगे ना, तो जब 6 महीने रहते होंगे ना, तो बता देना, we'll tell you what credit card you can use to get that car also.
Definitely.
ठीक है?
Yes.
Yeah.
People buy cars and credit cards all the time, and it works. And they like pocket loads of points.
Right.
So,
ठीक है, और बताओ, what else on any other questions that you have for us today?
Not really. So, like when I was doing my articleship, I was doing SIP at that time. So my dad's best
Very
friend, he has an asset management company. So, I invested with his help. So I will be continuing with that once I start my job. And as you said, I will not be focusing on spending and getting the points. I will be focusing on getting into a habit and, everything that you both told, one thing I realized that it will also help me to track my expenses. Through
Correct.
UPI and everything, it's very difficult to track. We just keep spending. So through credit card, when the bill will come, I will see, what expenses I have made and whether
Exactly.
they are
Exactly.
a necessary expense or I'm just making it without even thinking twice about it.
Yeah, very true. In fact, इस चीज में maybe I'm also not very good. I also am not a very good. I mean, I'm not very good to it, good in it when it comes to tracking. But Rishabh ने बहुत पुराना record बनाया हुआ है. If I'm not wrong, 2015, 2016 से he has the entire 2018 से he has that entire transaction कि इसने कौन से year में कौन से महीने में कितना spend किया, right? So that gives you a lot of insight into the kind of spending habits that you have.
The
So
age you're
definitely.
starting in, credit card से history से you can obviously track expenses and everything. But personally, what I feel is I manually put in expenses every day. It is a tedious process. Like everything, मैं 2018 से I've been tracking expenses every day. अभी 10 रुपए से ऊपर खर्चा है, I'll do it. 10 के नीचे का. That was my thing. So for my wife, I said, you do it 50 के ऊपर whatever you spend. ज़्यादा cognitive load भी नहीं लेना. You can decide the number. When I manually put in the expenses, right, what happens is I'm much more sure कि भाई I'm much more aware कि मेरा खर्चा कहाँ हो रहा है and if I want to reduce it. With all the other apps and everything, my data is obviously getting leaked, right? अगर मैं किसी को भी अपना सारे बैंक अकाउंट देता हूँ to track my expenses, तो एक option वो है. I would suggest really like a lot of people cannot do it. ठीक है? I'm sure a lot of people can not do it. Track your expenses gives you such a good insight. There are a lot of apps. There's an app called Money Manager with a red logo available on iOS, available on your Android as well. Been using it for 7 years. तो कोई भी खर्चा it gives me मुझे सिर्फ वो लिखना है कि क्या खर्चा करा था. Yesterday, for example, I was looking at an expense. I wanted to check 2022 का. I and my dad were having a talk. It took me 10 seconds to just put in the detail और वो मेरे सामने आ गया. Also, it gives you a pie chart at the end of, जो भी है continuous pie chart है. You get to see कि आपका खर्चा 2018 में कितना था, अब कितना हो गया है, right? What categories you are spending on. See, it's a disciplined process. Again, 95% of the people will not be able to do it. If you want that edge, और ऐसे कोई फायदा नहीं हो रहा है, मतलब मैं किसी के लिए नहीं कर रहा, मैं अपने लिए ही कर
आपको
रहा
बस समझ आ रहा है कि आपने कितना अच्छा
हूँ. मैं
स्पेंड
अक्षत को
किया
यही
बट
समझाता हूँ कि करा करो. Like our being
मैंने
from a
शुरू कर दिया ऋषभ मैंने शुरू कर दिया
being
I'll
from
be
a
there
business family, dad, my grandfather, they had this habit of noting expenses. So it came naturally to me. But वो notebook में वो every day लिखते थे. But again, वो data लेना बार बार वो वापस जाना will be a tedious task. But if we have that technology, please use that for your benefit. 2 years down the line, you'll see again with compounding from credit card points, with compounding from SIPs and everything. And once you have these expenses noted down, the life becomes much easier.
much easier no absolutely
When I was in my articleship period, I started noting down the expenses, but as Rishabh Bhaiya said, it is a very tedious task. So I used to do it one day, next day I used to forget. So
इसीलिए कोशिश करो कि ये मनी मैनेजर वाली ऐप पे
yeah,
डालना शुरू
I
करो आई
will
थिंक
do
दैट
that.
दैट विल हेल्प
My
Yeah,
mom
no,
will be the
it's
happiest.
most things in life, consistency and discipline over everything, over anything fancy. You go to gym, the more consistent you are with the food, with the diet, with the gym, it gives better results rather than doing flashy stuff, right? It's your consistency that matters in your life as well, your discipline that matters. And,
yeah
like doing these small tasks, abhi nahi pata chalega, right? But 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, definitely will bring a big change in the mindset also, right?
yeah
This might seem a very small thing, but in your entire mindset shift बहुत बड़ा होता
and मैं तो ये कहता हूँ ना मैं think of the way you've cracked your CA exam right consistency over anything else right अगर तुम एक दिन 10 घंटे पढ़ रही हो एक दिन 2 घंटे पढ़ रही हो तो it would not have helped you clear it but since you were consistent that's how you were able to clear it so that's the game in life as
Yes.
well
है. And one more small thing I would like to pitch in, which I've been telling recently to a lot of people, कि अब आपका क्या सॉर्ट हो गया? Your SIPs are sorted, your emergency funds will also be sorted, your credit card points will also be sorted, your expense noting will be sorted. But the day you're starting your first job, keep a small amount, maybe 1%, 2%, 2.5%, 3% for donation. Choose a charity of your choice. Gives you much more joy than spending on anything else. In our family, it's been a tradition to donate a little amount. It's been going on for 70, 80 years. My grandfather, my great grandfather started this.
Good for
About
today. A
50
lot of
years
action
ago.
items, I think.
Yes.
So, yes, Soumya, I really hope this added value to you and to all our viewers who are watching this. But yeah, I think, quick takeaway is get started with your SIPs first as soon as you get into the job. Get your first credit card, but use that credit card to build your CIBIL score and get into a habit rather than thinking about points from day one. Right?
Right.
And start
Cool.
monitoring expenses.
Start tracking your
Benefit.
expenses. Absolutely. And donate a small portion of your income. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. I really hope this was helpful. Thank you, Rishabh, for sharing your expert comments with Saumya. And thank you, Saumya, for all your questions and for being with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.